Today, good morning. And today we are going to look into what is compliance-centric SaaS security posture management and why do we need such a solution. Let's start with the problem statement. So security teams today face broad challenges. One of them is handling the ever-growing number of cloud applications that's being used by their employees in their organization. This cloud application usage has only accelerated with the incoming AI applications usage like ChatGPT, Gemini, and whatnot. We support around 90 plus SaaS applications from SSPM perspective today, and that number is growing every day. So given the multitude of SaaS applications that's being used, it's very hard for the security admins or IT admins to know what configurations they need to set in which application and be on top of those configurations every time. And these configurations get introduced on a regular basis in different applications. And what is expected out of IT teams and security admins is they need to know about these settings that's coming beforehand that is being introduced by cloud application vendors themselves. So it's very hard for them to know all the settings. On top of that, they need to make sure that the applications that they are sanctioning or letting their employees or organization use is got right posture set in it. It's got right settings put in it. For example, password is one such example, like password length has to be so and so. Each organization could have their own requirements, but let's say the password length has to be so and so, and that they have to go and modify or set in every application that they're managing. And that's the biggest pain point that admins and IT admins have these days. One is lack of visibility, like they don't know what setting is getting introduced in which application. Two, the data is fragmented. That is, each setting could reside in different location in the cloud application itself, right? So now knowing that location is another big pain point because these tech docs run pages and pages. So who knows where the specific setting information is put in? And three, the compliance regulations are also evolving. That's the biggest challenge that organizations and even nations face these days. There are multiple compliance settings, compliance standards, and regulations that an organization or an industry is expected to abide with. But the problem is these are also evolving on a regular basis. So how do I know what is the change that's been brought in with a specific standard? For example, NIST, that's been widely talked about these days. The NIST standard just recently got updated as well. So how do I know about these compliance standards? How do I make sure as an IT admin or a security admin that my organization and my employees are using applications that are compliant with the standards and regulations that we are supposed to abide with? Because the risk of not abiding with these standards and regulations is huge. Legal penalties, brand name reputation damage, and whatnot. So we thought about this problem deeply and mentioned that, okay, well, we do have SSPM. So why don't we make the basic requirement that is compliance stronger? In addition, let's do security. So let's make sure the compliance is first met. And then once the compliance foundation is stronger and our customers are happy with getting the information around compliance, then let's look about this. Think about the security and make sure we do beyond compliance. But beyond compliance doesn't mean compliance is not important. So that's what we wanted to highlight. So therefore, we do have compliance-centric approach taken for our SaaS security posture management solution, which is we provide the admins with auditability and fixability. It's not just enough to have the visibility. Hey, this application is not compliant. Now, what would the admin do with that information, right? So that's where fixability portion comes into picture. So what we do with fixability is we show you, hey, IT admin, these are the settings in these applications which we believe is not compliant with this standard or regulation. Now, not to worry. we give you options so that you can go and fix those settings so that you become compliant. So this is where our continuous audit to fix those compliance issue comes into picture. So let's look at what we have with our actionable compliance board in SSPM and what are the 3 key benefits that organizations get. So number 1, you have this compliance tab added in underneath this cautious security tab. So basically you get actionable compliance board that empowers our customers to have both panoramic and granular view of their cloud application configurations from a compliance perspective. That is panoramic view, meaning you get the overall compliance standard. Like these are the compliance standards, and of them, am I compliant or not? So if not, you can go a little bit deeper to see why am I not compliant? Which application am I not compliant? Which compliance standard am I not compliant? That's the visibility. That's the level of visibility that you will be provided with. Next, it helps with making sure the audits go smoothly because you don't have to get things in place only during the audit time because you do have it on a daily basis. And 2, you can fix those non-compliant settings swiftly without having to depend on, okay, what do I do? Who should I contact? So that information, that type of running around is not going to happen anymore. So the 3 key benefits that you get out of this compliance-centric SaaS security posture management is number 1, you get the high-level visibility into all the compliance standards, a 360-degree view of all standards across SaaS applications and instances. The standards supported are added in the tech doc, and I'll provide you with a link. Number 2 is granular visibility. That is, you will be able to deep dive into a specific setting or a specific application to see what is not compliant and receive suggestions on how to make it compliant. That's the third one. That is the remediation options. Okay, now that you have given me these list of settings in this application that is not compliant, now what do I have to do? You have 2 options. So if you have enabled auto remediation, meaning once you hit the auto remediation, it will automatically go to that cloud application to change that setting value to the suggested setting value. That is automatic. That is the auto remediation option. Number 2 is manual option. Let's say the auto remediation is not there for that setting. Now we provide you with a list of settings, with a list of steps for each setting. Like these are the steps that you have to take by hopping on to the cloud application itself so that you can go and modify that settings value. So that's the manual remediation option. The beauty of the auto remediation is that while you're automatically remediating the settings value to make it compliant, you do have an option to enable drift prevention. So what is drift prevention? Why do I need drift prevention? Right? So basically, drift prevention ensures that nobody else other than the person who's like, other than this person who's like set the setting, nobody else has an option to go and modify that setting value. Because oftentimes we humans try to take shortcut. Okay, we want to just get this thing done. Okay, maybe I'll disable MFA for just quick second so that I can go get this thing done and then I'll come and enable it, right? Shortcuts do happen, dynamic world. We need to make sure businesses run quick and fast. So people tend to take shortcuts. Now, by enabling drift prevention, you make sure your shortcuts are not applicable, ensuring complete protection of your cloud application. So now let's look at the demo. So this is the tab, which is Posture Security. So under Posture Security, you have dashboards, applications, third-party applications, policies, identity, and now this new compliance. So under compliance, you see an overall compliance view. So that tells you, like, am I compliant or not compliant? How many of them are high risk? Like, I need to get it done quick. And I also give you details around different compliance standards and how does their adherence to compliance look like? Are they compliant or high risk or medium risk? If it's high risk, then it means that I have to go quickly and make sure I get those things to compliance state. So you have the severity for each of the standards and the application instances, number of policies associated to them, and their segregation into the severity level. How many of them are severe, medium, and low? So now you have looked at that overall panoramic view. Now you're getting into the granular view. That is to specific to this standard, like NIST 853. Now you are given the description of that standard and how does it look like for all applications in my organization that is supported by SSPM. And now how is their compliance distribution look like? In the bottom table, you do have an option to see which application instance as well to that granular detail. So this visual will provide you a quick snapshot, and then for more details, you can get onto that table. So this is what I was talking about. So you have the settings name from the compliance board. Then you have the setting description to give you details about what is that setting about, why is it important, should I care about it or not care about it, and what is the current value of that setting, and what would be the suggested value for that setting. Okay, so this is the current value and suggested value. Let's say I'm not compliant. Now, what do I have to do? So actions. So this is where actions come into the picture, where you have an option to remediate it. Or if auto remediation is enabled, you can automatically remediate it without having to go to the cloud application. Then and there, from the product here, you can remediate it. So current value, suggested value. You can look at the specific different compliance standards. You can look at them and you can see the suggested value here. So actions, if it's all cool, if it's all compliant, then you don't see that action table highlighted. So previously you did not see that remediate highlighted because it is all already compliant. So now you will see it with a link because you are asked to take that action. So this gives you a visual indication that you need to take a remediation action. So there are like remediate means it's automatically remediate, and manual remediation means you are given the steps that you have to take by hopping onto the cloud application. This is that cool feature, enable drift prevention I was talking about. So while you're auto remediating, you can just click enable drift prevention and make sure that setting doesn't get changed once it's made compliant. So now in the next pass, in the next scan, this automatically gets updated. So this is the manual remediation steps that I was talking about. So we saw about the auto remediation, and now this is the manual remediation. So here you are given step 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are the things I have to do by hopping onto the cloud application. Isn't it simple? That's what I'm talking about. So it's not enough to just have visibility, but to have actions to make it right. So these are compliant ones. So for compliant ones, you don't have to take any action, so that actions table is not highlighted because the current value and suggested value are in alignment. Now non-compliant. There are 9 non-compliant settings where the current value doesn't match the suggested value, and you have the actions table inviting you to take that action. So enable drift prevention. That's it. So this is what compliance-centric SSPM for you. Hope you liked it. And let me now hand it over to Tanmay, my colleague, to take up the next. Thank you very much. Tanmay, over
Thank
to
you,
you.
Priyanka. Yeah. Let me share my screen. Yeah, let me know if you're able to see my screen, Priyanka.
Yes, Tanmay, we can.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about behavior threads, which is our new ML-powered behavior analytics or UEBA solution. Yeah. So we'll get started with what problem we are trying to solve and why it is important, right? So effectively addressing insider threats involving credential compromise is a significant challenge. And it's not just any challenge, as you know, it's a costly one. Organizations like frequently struggle with understanding the specifics. What exactly are the compromised accounts and why do they have access to certain information? Like who is behind these compromised accounts? Organizations are looking for insights into like a suspicious activities and the risky user behavior, craving contextual information to assist in the prevention efforts. Like while this is just we are just scratching the surface here, it is clear that this issue garners the attentions in the headlines and poses a tangible threat to any organization. So mitigating the risk associated with compromised users is a topmost priority. And what proactive measures can we take to remediate and block such threats effectively? That is critical. And normally, CASB admins do not have an easy and reliable way to detect inauthentic behavior in their environment. They want to be informed of like malicious insiders and outsiders. They want to identify and take actions on abnormal SaaS application activity. And we have seen that normally admins complain that there are a lot of incidents and a lot of noise, and it is not easy to focus on what really matters. They are interested in monitoring what the users are doing, if they should be allowed to do, and what they may be doing as it relates to the SaaS application activity. This is important in order for them to assess the potential risk in such activity, as well as how can it impact the business so that they can take appropriate actions to stop the bad actors. So that's about the problem. Now let's talk about in this slide, we'll put a lens on how we are approaching this problem. So as we already confirmed that need to detect the suspicious behavior is real, and we are starting by addressing the sanctioned SaaS activity. So that's where the crown jewel data resides. And when we examine the SaaS, like sanctioned SaaS applications and application we support, we are looking at what are the anomalies and what is the suspicious activities being performed in those applications. Beyond that, as we relax the boundary, then there we are talking about numerous tolerated and unsanctioned applications. As you know, currently we support around 65,000 applications as part of our SaaS inline product. And as a part of our roadmap, we are planning to integrate that in the behavior threats product. Furthermore, beyond that, more the signals, more better results. For instance, when it comes to posture security, do we know if an application has a MFA enabled or not? If the service account is shared or not? What implication does this have for the user's account risk level? We need to comprehend this data in regards to suspicious activity and bring more signals and improve the efficacy of our model. So basically, this slide encapsulates the overall journey which we are undertaking as a part of a behavior threat solution. Okay, so let's talk about what we currently had for the last several years before behavior threats. So I'm calling it legacy UEBA. So this solution is available under data security as user activity policies. So these are current like suspicious user activity policies based on the predefined rules. So currently we support around 11 of these policies ranging from like impossible travel, bulk data upload download, risky IP, malware, and so on. And I think it's already documented on our documentation site. I can also share that link with you, but this is just a rule based, so we are improving this and going further, adding the machine learning based model, and I'm going to explain how exactly we are doing that. And our plan is to bring over these rule based policies under behavior threats as a part of our journey, so that you have holistic view of all the user activity and you are able to find all the anomalies regarding the user activity under the same umbrella, that is a behavior threats. Okay. So let's talk about what we are doing as a part of the behavior threats and how we are trying to solve this problem. So when we spoke with customers and their CASB admins and SOC analysts, we understood that these are the important behavioral situations regarding their users that SaaS admins really care about. So it ranges from like a bulk and spike activity, time-based activity, type-based activity, location, and sensitive data transfer. So what exactly are these? So these are some examples which are tied to these different behavioral situations. For example, bulk in the failed login attempts or user accessing the files and a spike in the files deleted, shared, or edited, and or user accessing the applications during the unusual hours from the new locations or excessive data download or upload from the risky location or during the abnormal hours and accessing the data which has sensitive information, for example, any PII or your financial data, right? So these are a few examples. So what we have created is we have built a machine learning based policies for each of these, like a different set of behavioral situation. And what these machine learning models does is it creates the user's baseline by looking at a past 90 days of activity. And it is not only looking at the specific user activity, but it also takes into consideration their peers and while building the baseline. For example, if you are part of the sales organization, it is not going to look at what you have performed within 90 days, but also look at your peers within the sales organization and what they have done in the last 90 days to create the baseline so that we make sure that whenever we are finding the anomalies, they are like not false positive, and we are trying to create like as accurate as possible and surface those incidents for the admins. So I hope that makes sense. Now let's talk about like what is coming into like what all features we are giving into behavior threats, right? So we just went GA a couple of months back, and this is the dashboard. I'm going to go through the like a live demo also. But yeah, we are providing, I think, around 10 policies by default, which are tied to the different behavioral situations, which are explained in the earlier slide. And these policies are going to be enabled by default, so you don't have to take any proactive action from day one. And apart from that, basically, we have the feature called as watch list, which was requested by several customers. So you are able to add people who you want to monitor closely into the watch list. Like, for example, if somebody has given a notice, they are going to leave the company in 2 weeks, you want to closely monitor those people and add them into the watch list. We also have the user risk score ranging from 0 to 100, and you are able to see the top risky users. So you want to focus your attention to the top most risky users within your organization. Then we have like a separate types of policies related to the suspicious activity as well as bulk download, upload, the time, location, as well as you are able to find the threats to the sensitive data using these policies. Another thing which is very important is the incidents. So we make sure that we only create like a top incidents for each policies so that we avoid the false positive as well as reduce the noise from the admin perspective. And last but not the least, so this product is currently based on the SaaS API application. That's why it is included in the bundles CASB X, CASB PA, as well as if you have a data security bundle, then you are able to get access to the behavior threat solution. Okay, so I'm going to now spend some time. We are going to look at the actual demo environment, and I'll go through the dashboard and the different configurations which we have. So I hope you are able to see my screen. So this is a behavior threads tab, which you can open from the SaaS security. So you are already familiar with the SaaS security, which has like a Discord apps, data security, and SSPM. So we have just added a new tab for behavior threads called, for behavior threads here. So this is the dashboard you are looking at. So let's start by looking at the top three risky users on the left side. So here you have Jimmy, Soumya, and Darcy. So as a part of this top three risky users, you are able to see what is the risk score of that particular user. There is a toggle for the watch list, which you can use to easily add and remove users from the watch list for the same reasons which I explained in the previous slides. For example, if somebody has given a notice or for any other reasons, you want to monitor the user closely. The incident shows the total number of incidents our um, solution has identified for that particular user. The risk trend is basically how their risk is trending in the time span selected here. So you can change that from 7 days up to the 90 days, and you can also define the custom range for the time span. And status is active right now. So this is coming from the CIE. So one of the prerequisite for the product for now is you must have a CIE. So CIE actually help us to get all the user details as well as all the organizational and the peer details, which help us to calculate the baseline and train our ML models, which I explained earlier. So on the right side, we are looking at the policies by situation. I mentioned there are different behavioral situations which admins really care about. So here you can see different policies divided as per that situation. And you can easily navigate to different set of policies by clicking on these numbers here. For example, if I click on bulk activity, it is going to open the policies tab, only showing the policies related to bulk activity. For example, here you see detect bulk data upload on download. You have the short description of what this policy is doing, as well as you see the top three risky users who have violated this specific policy. So you can easily focus, if you care about one specific policy, you can come here and monitor the users who have violated that particular policy. Below that, we have a detect bulk user activity, which is again tied to the bulk activity situation. From here, if you click on view all, you are able to see all the users who have violated that particular policy. So you can go beyond the only three users here and monitor all users who have violated that policy. Okay, so let's going back to the dashboard. I want to show the overall journey you can take as an admin. So let's say you want to, like, you logged in onto your system and you see the top three list users and you want to see what's going on with Jimmy. So I'm going to click on view details. So here you see the user information on the top right, the basic information. It is coming from the CIE. It has the information which is very important for you to take an action for that particular user. For example, who is their manager, from which department they are, what are the active directory groups they are part of. So we are able to see all this information here. And next is incidents. So I'm going to open a couple of these incidents for you so then we can review it. For example, time-based incident. So you are able to see the severity of the incident here, along with what situation they have violated and the policy, as well as the description. For example, it seems like this user was consistently active during the hour starting at 10 o'clock over the past 90 days. So it seems like as a product understand based on the user's baseline that this is not normal, and that's why it is created incident for it. Similarly, if you look at the bulk activity on 27 June, we noticed that this user has downloaded a tremendous amount of data between the specific set of hours compared to what they normally download during that time span. And it seems like this is significantly higher compared to their peers as well. So that's why you are able to see this incident for the user. So one thing you can do here, this is a machine learning based model. So it's not going to be perfect from day one. So we have provided a way to provide a feedback to the admins. So you can click on it, and based on your analysis which you perform, you can provide your feedback, whether it is accurate identification. If not, what is the problem? You can write your own response here and submit that so that it comes back to the product as well as our machine learning models can learn from it and improve their efficacy and provide the better like results for you and customized to you. So that's that. So based on this incident and based on the severity, as an admin means you have multiple options you can take. You can either manually look what's going on and reach out to their manager, see whether you need to block the access. And if you think that this is not that much risky, you can begin with adding these users to the watch list. So those are the options you can currently take. But as part of a journey, we are working on creating like a remediation workflow so you can start taking actual actions from the product itself. So another thing I want to highlight is the users tab. So apart from the top three risky users, you also have the users tab here where you can easily filter the users based on the watch list. For example, if you want to only look at the users who are added into the watch list, you can like filter that and only look at those users and what incidents are created for those users. As well as you can add a filter for the different situations which are violated by a particular user. We already looked at the policies tab, but policies tab also you can add a filter for the situation and only looked at the policies tied to the specific situation. And you can toggle between different views to basically get better understanding of different policies and what exactly they are doing. And if you can also disable the policies if you want, by default, we have enabled all the policies. And third tab is the incidents tab. Basically, this contains all the incidents for all the users. You can add a filter here to basically filter out the incident and focus your investigation based on the severity of the incident or the different behavioral situation, as well as for any specific user, you can monitor or get list of the incidents tied to that user. And for any kind of offline analysis, we are also providing a way to take an export so it can come into the CSV and you can do offline analysis of all your incidents. So yeah, so that's what all I wanted to cover for behavior threats. I hope it was useful, and now I think we are happy to take any questions.